I'm assuming because you clicked on this video, you either just bought your first Subaru or you're well versed like I am in knowing how terrible these engines are. And now you need to replace it. This is a flip car I'm putting together. I was just driving it to make sure the thing was working so I could sell it with a clear conscience that I'm selling a car that is 100% functional and it's going to be usable. Guess what? It wasn't. I put 1,000 miles on this engine. It was a used short block out of a stock car, unmodified. I did one donut. I did one donut. Not even a cyclone. I did a 360. You can't even call it a donut. And this stupid engine blew up. So now we have to pull it back out for a second time. And I'm doing something different. If you guys have been watching the channel, or if you are unaware, I'll put some links here and here to old videos of me doing JDM engine installs. This is a little different because I just found out you can get a JDM EJ255, which traditionally you would pull the engine out of this guy and put a EJ255 in. They work very similar, and if your car is stock, you can basically just toss one in, change the timing components. Very little, few things you have to change. Basically just watch the other videos I have on how to do a JDM 205 in like a WRX. It's the same kind of stuff you have to swap over for a 20X. I want to see, and for the sake of flipping more of these Subarus because they just blow up all the time, and if you're an expert on why they blow up, just comment below because everyone likes to say how Subarus are the greatest cars ever and they never blow up, and I only blow them up because I beat on them, which is true. I also beat on this thing and drive it to and from the track, hit rev limiter every freaking day. Guess what? It doesn't blow up because it's a Honda. And it makes almost the same horsepower as this thing with a friggin' turbo. Subaru, come on, just make better engines. All right, so we have our new engine. And unfortunately, I already know I can't just toss this sucker in here. We're gonna go over all that right now. Let's talk differences on this engine that I know already is gonna be an issue. Let's wheel it over to my workbench and get into it. Here it is, the JDM EJ255. As you can see down there, it is a 2.5, not the 2-liter that is typically tossed in these cars. The reason I ordered this guy here is because I was really hoping that I could just remove all the accessories and put the USDM equivalent on it, but I can tell you right now it's not going to happen. Main reason is the cylinder heads. Taking a look at the back here, we'll notice something a bit strange on this cylinder head. Now this is actually a scavenge pump because the turbo is actually located on the bottom side of this engine. So that's actually pulling engine oil back into here from the turbo so you don't have a bunch of smoke in your exhaust. Here is the right side cylinder head off of the USDM equivalent. We're also missing the EGR port, which is right where our scavenge pump is. Maybe it's behind there, doubt it. Because if we take a look at our left side head, this is pretty basic on this one. Coming over to the USDM equivalent, again, the emission stuff kind of screws us on just swapping it over. You have the option of tuning it out, but in recent news, if you're familiar, Cobb, you can no longer mess with Cobb if you delete emissions. So if I delete the emissions on this car, it's no longer Cobb capable. Not a huge thing. There's other options out there, but that's the most common one, and I want to keep this car emissions compliant for the next owner if they want to go that route. Another huge issue is going to be right here. There is no hole for the turbo drain for the oiling system. Just not there. We also have I think this is the oil feed or coolant. I can't remember. It's weird seeing it off the car. But again, we are missing that. You could probably drill and tap it, but I just don't know. Packaging, pretty sure I could just toss this engine straight into the car and it would all bolt up. It is kind of a cool package. No power steering. The car that this came out of had an electronic rack, So we would be deleting power steering. You would also have to do something about this crazy exhaust setup. You would have to either change subframes, cut your subframe, or wrap it back around. You'd have to do something creative. It's very tempting for me to try and put this engine in the car because I've never seen anyone mess with this engine. That's why I'm making this video. And let me know in the comments, guys. I'd love to hear what you think about this engine. I'd love to know if anyone else has messed with it. If this video helps you, shoot me a comment because I appreciate that kind of stuff. It makes it worthwhile for me to make these videos. But I would love to mess with this, but this car is here to make me money. They left all the wiring harness on here. This plug right here is the exact same on this side of the car. So theoretically, you could put this engine in the car, and if you rerouted the wiring to this side, would plug in, which makes me believe that this engine could just be thrown in and run. But the biggest way to tell is going to be taking the timing components off. Your timing is all done off of your cam gears and your crank sprocket. So this is what your computer needs to tell how to run the engine. So if these components are different inside of here, this engine will not just bolt in and run. You will have to take your timing components apart, swap over the USDM equivalents, and then it would be able to bolt in. But I won't know that unless I literally take all this apart. For the sake of science, you can see me pull this thing apart. I'm hopefully going to try to sell off all of this stuff because I did pay $1,500 for this engine. We had placed an order for which JDM K24s, so I saved on shipping. But brand new short blocks are now $2,500 from Subaru, and they don't come with an oil pump. They are bare bones. They are even more incomplete than this because I have had to dress brand new blocks. I mean, you have to, a lot of the times they don't even come with these covers. So let's tear this apart, see if the components are the same as USDM, and then just keep tearing it down so I can put the newly refurbished heads on this engine, put it in the car, and hopefully it works. Full of oil, nice and clean too. Man, this is so close to being a drop-in swap. These gears look to be exactly the same, which means the ECU would be able to run this engine because as long as it can see your crank and your cam, it'll run. But the only holdback is these heads. That sucks. If you felt confident enough and would drill a hole there and it led to an oil passage and you tapped for the coolant feed, or you relocated the coolant feed like that head is, you could drop this block into your car and run it. Before I pull the heads off, I'm going to take the exhaust manifold, take this stock exhaust manifold, and make sure it bolts up in case you guys want to do this. But this swap looks to be feasible. Stock header fitment works good, except I just noticed something that may be a problem with this block. The block is actually stamped E25, just like the heads, which are E25s. And if we go to the USDM, it is a B25. The difference, from what I can see, is going to be your oil pan. These are much bigger bolts than the USDM version. If we take this off, this is all one unit. And these 3 bolts are going to be a bigger bolt. So what I can see is the USDM pan, this guy right here, that's full of shrapnel like every Subaru, will bolt up. You'll just have to drill out those 3 holes. the pickup tube is same location as USDM. So I should be able to just toss a USDM pan and pickup tube on here, and this engine should look normal, but be aware, these blocks are stamped E25. So hopefully the pistons are the same. Once we get the heads off, we'll see if the pistons are the same as the USDM equivalent. Before I pull the heads off, I wanted to check the cams. Part numbers are different, especially on the intake side. They look similar. I'm not 100% on how to tell the differences. Like in cams, you kind of have to measure, you know, your overlap and lift, the lobe height. I'm not going to do that. It's way too much work. I did verify the intake and exhaust cam from the USDM engine does bolt right into these heads. The cam caps are basically the same. The USDM has the port for the secondary AVCS, which obviously this car is only a single AVCS, where this one was a dual. So if the cams are different, you could just swap the USDM cams in with your USDM non-AVCS cam gears, and it should run as normal. This is just going to be kind of useless and obsolete. It's not going to do anything because this ECU isn't set up to run a dual AVCS. But if you wanted to use this whole long block and you were fine with tuning out the emissions and stuff and getting your turbo feed and stuff to work, this engine, I believe, would work in this car, just due to the fact that you can swap in the cams and everything. So let's get these heads off. See if, I'm really hoping the pistons are the same as the USDM, because I did not know that this was a E25 block versus the B25 block. So we'll see. I'm torn on running the JDM pan and just leaving everything. I did order a brand new pan and pickup. Man, hits again. So if we look at this piston out of the JDM 2.5 liter and go to our USDM version, that is a dished piston. This is a flat piston. So that means this block is going to be higher compression. So unfortunately, this car is not going to be 100% like OEM. It is a math car, and I am not going to do anything crazy with it, so it should be fine. I do have everything kind of laid out for you, so we're gonna go down the line here. So USDM header and up pipe, which would bolt to your turbo, that is tucked away over there. Again, that's gonna change car to car, but the USDM header and stuff is going to all look like this. This is the twin scroll low mount turbo setup off of the JDM engine. Really cool setup. Like, honestly, I wish I could just toss it in this car and like not have to do tuning and stuff, but super cool. I'm gonna try to put that up for sale, get some money out of it, because this is a very expensive short block. Oil pan, this is the USDM. Again, it just has the standard little 10 mil head bolts that go all the way around, versus this super weird setup on the JDM engine, which is this aluminum top case part and then a little baby pan on the bottom, which I believe you could just use this one. I'm not gonna do it just because I want this car to look as factory as possible. And yeah, I was gonna pull the cams over here, but screw it, I'm not gonna waste my time. But the intake cams are the exact same. The part numbers are the exact same on my USDM one. These are the JDM ones. Again, I'm gonna try to put these on eBay, get some money out of these. These are worth, I think, a couple $100 for the set. So I know newer STIs are dual AVCS, so somebody building an STI, hit me up. I have a full set of these bad boys, so hopefully get some money out of those. Your coolant crossover. Usually this is 100% different always on JDM engines. This is something you always have to change, and in fact, it is the case here. This is our USDM one I just have all the lovely emission stuff we have. This is our octopus of a JDM crossover. This needs to feed that low mount turbo, so it kind of ran all down the side of the engine. Side-by-side comparison of the USDM versus the JDM. Honestly, guys, these things are the same. Like, this is the USDM coolant reservoir going onto the JDM engine. It doesn't fit because, well, I guess they are a little bit different. The rails are going to be different, so not entirely the same, but the core of everything looks to be the same. I mean, we have the same port on the front. No, never mind, I'm wrong. These are in fact different. So unless this comes out, but this goes that way, that one goes that way. So I don't quite understand why JDM engines are just a little tiny bit different from the USDM versions that make them like impossible to throw in our cars, but they are. So I guess I was wrong. I'm gonna pull part numbers off the TGVs though, because I'm crossing my fingers that those are worth money, because everyone's looking for them because of switching to Cobb. We're not gonna talk about accessories because, well, those are gonna change car to car. We're just talking about the core of the engine and what needs to be changed to go into your car. Man, this is a lot of stuff, and I really hope I caught as much as I could for you guys. I'm gonna get to assembling this thing, and hopefully it all works. All right, we're already running into issues on assembly. So, looking at this brand new oil pan, because the other one had shrapnel in it, we noticed that all the holes line up except for those two. So I'm gonna have to drill and tap those, which is kind of annoying. I've already gone ahead and marked that one. This one already has a casting mark to be drilled out. If we take this bad boy off of here, I mean, it fits, just not really. Let's grab our pickup tube. Pickup tube also fits right where it needs to go, except not exactly. I'm getting frustrated with this. This is this is a very expensive learning process. So if we look, there is also holes there and there. Guess what's not in there? There's no threads. So I have to take this guy here, flip the engine over, grease this up, make sure I don't get any shrapnel inside this thing, because we already know Subarus just like to blow up spontaneously. We don't need to help them along, and tap some holes. And hopefully I don't run into any more issues, because this is becoming a very irritating engine install. The rest of the assembly is going surprisingly well, thankfully. Timing is all set. I've rotated it over a few times, and I don't have any piston to valve issues. I didn't think I would. I guess we'll find out when we actually get it into the car. Everything seems to be going good. The only issue now is just it's going to be a higher compression engine than it originally was. It'll be nice for daily driving because it'll have a little bit of grunt down low. I might throw it on the dyno at work just to make sure AFRs are fine. That's the only thing I'm worried about, but it is a math car. It's going to correct. Subaru's ECUs kind of learn a little bit. It's not like a Holly learn or anything like that, but this isn't a high horsepower car. I'm not selling it as that. I'm going to be straightforward with selling it that, hey, this is a used engine. It's a low mileage engine. It looked good. The internals looked really good. So I'm gonna finish assembling this and see how it runs in the car. All right, she's all together. I've gone ahead and pulled the fuel pump fuse. I've cranked it over, made sure the oil light comes off. Gonna go ahead and plug the fuse back in. We're gonna get in. This thing's gonna just fire right up. I have not tried to start it yet. Beautiful. It's running. Yes! Yes! I'm so happy. All right, let's see how she cold starts this morning. Got everything all wrapped up last night, and this thing should be ready to go. Everything seems to be working correctly, minus I forgot one bolt and leaked a bunch of oil everywhere, but besides that, this thing seems to be running really good. So let's get in and fire it up. Okay. Look at that. Just fires up and purrs. Yeah, I'm happy with the results. Put But the big question is, would I do this engine swap again? Well, swap? Probably not. To be honest, it was a lot of work. You basically have to take your engine apart, the donor engine apart, and then put it all back together. And if you have parts that aren't usable on your engine, you have to buy new parts. I'm really hoping I can make some money off of the TGVs, maybe sell the heads and the turbo kit off of the JDM engine. If somebody is interested in those things, if you are, hit me up. But yeah, I'm into this for a lot more money than I thought it would be. I'm still going to make money off of it, but not as nearly as much as I thought I would. But with the rising cost of used engine blocks or short blocks, maybe it is worth doing this. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. Hope you guys learned something from this and this video can help you. And we'll see you on the next one.